What if Deku joined Team JPDE? Chapter 30. Bumblebee. Monday. Day 92. And that's the general gist of it, Penny said. What's with these harpies just popping up everywhere? First Titania, now this seal. Why can't they just leave us alone, Evelyn said. I appreciate your worries, but fret not, Evelyn. Seal is not a bad person, Penny said. Jury's still out on that one, Evelyn said. Moving on from Evelyn's rant, David said. Penny, I have to ask. Is there merit to what Seal says about you, Jack asked. No, there's not, Evelyn said. Evelyn. Remember what they told us about Penny's secret side, Deku said. Evelyn said. Well, in a potential way. I'm a danger, yes, Penny said. Aren't we all, though, as hunters, Jack asked. Not all in the same way. Context is also important, but suffice to say, I have the most potential for danger because it would be nearly impossible to stop me. Knowing there's someone specifically made to be a counter to myself makes me happy, Penny said. Only you, Penny. But what if she suddenly decides to strike preemptively? That you're too dangerous to keep around, David said. Oh, there's 0% chance she's going to take that kind of initiative, Penny said. And what makes you so sure, Deku asked. Unit. I mean, Penny, Seal said. Seal. What a surprise. What are you doing in the school, Penny asked. HMPH, how naive. Wherever you go, I will never be too far, Seal said. I knew it. Eyes and miscellaneous appendages of the redhead. I'm watching you, Evelyn said. Excuse me, Seal asked. That's Evelyn, Seal. Penny's partner. She's currently going through an overprotective phase. I'm Jack. And those two are David and Izuku, our final teammates, and they are Penny's boyfriends, Jack said. I see. I can't say it's a wait, did you just say boyfriends, Seal asked. Yeah, that's what she said, David said. We seem to be getting this quite a lot. Anyway, it's nice to meet you, Seal, Deku said. And other than being my cute partner, she's my girlfriend too, Evelyn said. Hearing that said out loud is kind of embarrassing, Penny said. But you can't. I mean, you know, don't you, Seal asked. We do, Jack said. Then how? Why? Whatever. It's a waste of time. Of course this rogue would gravitate towards abnormal people. Take this and let me be on my way, Seal said. Oh, that's crystallization fluid, Penny said. Your father. I mean, Major Polendina wants you to take this daily to better prepare for the operation, Seal said. Thank you for bringing this here, Seal, Penny said. Think nothing of it. I didn't do it for you, Seal said. Wait, you're basically on an errand. Aren't you Penny's father's new bodyguard, Evelyn asked. As a major of the medical corps, Professor Polendina outranks me, Seal said. So? You came here on an errand because he ordered you to, Deku asked. Unlike Penny, I know what obedience means. Have a good day, Seal said. Seal then left the mess hall. Now I get why you don't think she'll take any initiative, Evelyn said. Told you. As I said, she's not a bad person, Penny said. Penny, what the hell do you need crystallization fluid for, Jack asked. I was wondering about that myself. I mean, what even is that, David asked. It's a bit complicated, Penny said. From the name I assume it has something to do with dust, Deku said. Story time can wait. I'm kind of hungry, here, Evelyn said. My thoughts exactly, Penny said. That's my girl. Grub, here we come, Evelyn said. Penny and Evelyn then went to eat. So, partner. What's crystallization fluid, David asked. Well. It doesn't work on its own, but simply put crystallization fluid is used to make dust crystals bigger, Jack said. Deku had received a text from Blake. Anyway, thanks for, well, making me fall asleep. Gods, that's such a weird thing to say, isn't it, Blake texted. And hello to you too, Blake. Got to work on your greetings? Or are you just going to start hissing at me, Deku asked. I swear to high heaven, I will scratch your face. We'll see how many girlfriends stick around, Blake texted. Oh, please. Kitty scratches will be the smallest scars I have, Deku texted. Blake was currently in her room. All of a sudden someone came tumbling through the window. Who? Blake said. Oh, well. You are distracted. The usual Blake would have noticed me at least halfway up the water drain, Sun said. Normal people do not enter a room by the window after climbing a water drain to begin with, Sun, Blake said. Well, you wouldn't have let me in otherwise, Sun said. You're impossible, Blake said. Nah, just implausible. So, what's so interesting on your scroll that made you cut off the rest of the world, Sun asked. It's nothing much, Blake said. Nothing much. Is it WF stuff, Sun asked. Oh, no. Quite the opposite, Blake said. Well, that's great then, Sun said. Well, not exactly. I mean, it's still complicated. And I'm still me, Blake said. That's true, Sun said. This is usually the part where you say nonsense, you're great, Blake said. But that would be lying, Sun said. Blake said. I mean, the you being you part of the equation is that you don't feel up to face the situation directly, right, Sun asked. Blake's face fell. As I thought. Afraid of the fallout, Sun asked. A bit. I mean, I don't think there's a possibility for a completely negative outcome, but it may make certain situations awkward, Blake said. That's it, Sun said. Yeah. So, I don't know how to deal with awkward. I don't know how to deal with this kind of teen school drama. I've only ever read about this kind of stuff. Did you forget how I grew up, Blake asked. I never thought it like that, Sun said. Sorry. I flew off the handle, Blake said. No, I mean, of course. What the hell would you know about how to deal with this kind of stuff, Sun asked. I know, Blake said. I mean, even when we first met. Instead of trusting your friends, you were running away from them, Sun said. I know, Blake said. Well, we both know how that ended up. So, do you think you can actually do it, this time, Sun asked. I guess I can at least trust them to not run away from me, Blake said. As long as you don't get in one of your scary moods, Sun said. And what does that mean, exactly, Blake asked. There it is, there it is. Don't do that, Sun shouted. Tuesday. Day 92. In a few words, my core is made up of dust, Penny said. Your core? Like, your heart, David asked. Sort of. Father wasn't clear on the details of my creation, but my core is where my soul resides, according to him. When I was born as just my core. The rest of my body came afterwards, Penny said. And it's made of dust, Jack said. So, you need that fluid to, like, make it bigger, Evelyn asked. Yes. In case we need to chip away at it to make the new parts, it's better to have more than less, Penny said. Chip at? Whoa, there. Are you sure that's safe, Deku asked. It is 100% safe. It's like doing open heart surgery. But my father has performed countless operations of this kind since I was born. It's nothing special for him, Penny said. Will it hurt, Evelyn asked. Not at all. When I'm disconnected from my body it's... Well, I guess you'd equate it to sleeping, Penny said. Still, I'm not really comfortable in having you undergo such an operation, Jack said. Penny, if it's for us, you don't have to, David said. You're all very kind to worry about me like this. But I assure you that there's nothing dangerous to it. Also, the sexual modifications weren't going to involve working on my core. This is something else that I've decided for myself, Penny said. Fine. Though I'd say, we would all feel better if we could be there for you or your dad had an assistant, Deku said. Don't be silly. You have more of Peak to explore, don't you? You're the ones who should be careful, not me. By the time you've landed at the base camp, I will already be done. Also, my father does have an assistant now, Penny said. Huh? When Jack asked. They then started to realize who the assistant was. Oh. I see, Jack said. I approve, Evelyn said. Hooray for hierarchy, David said. Deku was currently thinking of how he could give Young the childhood she never had. You're not going to be able to, Ruby. You didn't go through the previous curriculum, Ruby. Stupid Young. Stupid skipped years, Ruby said. Hey, Ruby. Why the long face, Deku asked. This is not a long face, this is the face of defeat, Ruby said. Okay. What defeated you exactly, Deku asked. Dust equations. I tried doing it on my own, but... What a leader, Ruby said. You mean Professor Peach's individual paper, Deku asked. Yes. You know how I skipped years, right? The headmaster didn't really consider my academic knowledge when he made the offer. There's a lot of stuff I need now that I should have learned at Signal. So much to catch up on, Ruby said. Well, then go ask Professor Peach, Deku said. But I can't tell her that I don't know, Ruby said. Ruby, she's a teacher, and she loves when people want to know more about dust. Do you honestly think she will get angry or cross with you for needing her help, even without considering your situation, Deku said. Well. No, but Ruby said. I bet she can even give you some material to help you catch up on more stuff. That way you won't have to ask for further help, unless you get stuck again, Deku said. You know what? You're right. A little admission of weakness to avoid many more in the future, Ruby said. Let's go find her together, then. I also have a lot to catch up on, Deku said. Deku and Ruby then went to ask Professor Peach for help. A few hours later, Ruby returned to her room. Welcome back, little sis. Ready to prostrate yourself at the feet of the master and do your duty, Young said. Never again, evil Gowler. I have broken the shackles of ignorantity, Ruby said. It's ignorance, you boob-weas said. Oh. And that means, Young asked. Phew, Ruby said. Throwing chicken scratches around won't help you, little sis. We're finishing that paper tonight, Young said. It's already finished, Ruby said. Yeah, I know your version of Finn. This is all correct. And legible, Young said. Wait, what? Weiss said. Weiss and Blake then looked at Ruby's dust work. Dust above, she's started copying, Weiss said. Hey, I did not, Ruby said. Ruby, not we wouldn't be happy if that was the cause, but it's hard for us to accept that you did this on your own, Blake said. I didn't. I just asked someone else for help, Ruby said. You asked someone else? But who? Young asked. Professor Peach, of course, Ruby said. You mean? The whole afternoon you were having a one-on-one lesson with Professor Peach? Weiss asked. 2-on-1. Izuku was also there, Ruby said. That's not fair, Weiss said. How is a teacher helping a student catch up on their studies unfair? Blake asked. Because she's the worst student in dust class. Why can't I have a one-on-one lesson with Miss Peach? Weiss yelled. Because you don't need it, Blake said. I mean, you Argwise said, as she stormed off. Here's hoping she doesn't lower her grades on purpose, Blake said. Nah, that'd make Miss Peach disappointed in her. She wouldn't do that. Good thing I didn't tell her the professor gave me her personal notes. Now I can finally catch up, Ruby said. Oh, that's great, Young said. I know. And I feel so silly, not having thought of it earlier. Then I was talking with Izuku and pop goes the idea, Ruby said. Honestly, I doubt any of us would have thought about it. For some reason or another, I don't think any of us has ever had any trouble in school, Blake said. I wouldn't say that. But I never went to professors with my problems, before. I always went to Young first. So silly, Ruby said. I know, right? I guess just because I've never had to, doesn't mean the rest of the world is half as awesome, Young said. Hey, Ruby. Think I could take a sneak peek at the professor's notes too, Blake asked. Only if you don't tell Weiss, Ruby said. As Ruby and Blake looked over Professor Peach's notes, Young's face fell. Wednesday. Day 94. So, how did you convince Professor Goodwitch to let us ditch her class, David asked. That's not what's going on here, partner. Today Prof Goodwitch wanted to have us spar between partners. I simply suggested she gave us enough space, Jack said. Enough? Wait. You're going to use your semblance, David asked. No. You are, Jack said. You seem surprised, Deku said. Kind of. I mean, whatever Jack's semblance is, it's lethal, isn't it? Is it wise to give me something like that? Even if it's just something similar, David said. I trust you to only use it if necessary, of course. But to know how to properly do that, we need to experiment, Jack said. What brought this on, David asked. Well. On Sunday, we will have to split up. Without Penny, there's just the 6 of us. Titania has to go, Professor Peach wanted to as well, and considering her relationship with Titania and her experience, why shouldn't we allow her? You also need to go. Your connection to Peak and the boss have already proven instrumental to unraveling the mysteries of the city. Me and Evelyn will stay outside as backup and coordination. Still, we don't know what may happen on the inside. So, I figured I should give you some more utilities, Jack said. Utilities, David said. Semblances, and quirks, aren't strictly for combat, David. And so far you're racking up a useful rack of skills. Even if you're not as powerful as her, Evelyn's clairvoyance is an invaluable asset when exploring the unknown. And Pyrrha's polarization allows you mobility that most people dream of, Deku said. What about your semblance, Jack? What does it do, David asked. My semblance works by stealing kinetic energy and storing it for myself, Jack said. That's the energy of things in motion, right, David asked. In short, what my semblance does is create a field which saps the kinetic energy of everything in it. At a molecular level. To the point that even an object's temperature is affected. Then, when I deactivate the field, I can utilize the energy I've stolen, Jack said. It's kind of like my quirk, but instead of kinetic energy, it just stockpiles power. Also, I don't lose any power when using one for all. It's kind of like leveling up in a video game, Deku said. I see. Does it always have to be in short bursts, David asked. No, I decide the rate and pace of how I use the stolen energy, but I can't put up another field without first expending all the energy I've stolen first. Is that enough information? Or do you need more, Jack asked. No, I feel like it's enough, David said. David then activated Jack's inspiration. Deku was currently in his room cuddling with Evelyn on her bed. But his mind was not focused on her, instead it was focused on Blake. No, that's not how it works. When I'm in the room, I'm supposed to be the focus, Evelyn said. Hey. Sorry, Deku said. You're forgiven this one time. What's whatting you, Evelyn asked. Blake, Deku said. Mrua. You've got good taste, lover boy. Blame Penny. The whole thing is her idea, remember. I'm just making a conscious effort, Evelyn said. Right. Anyway, not in that way. It's just, I was having some kind of positive influence on her behavior. So I guess I feel the weight of responsibility, Deku said. Yeah, I remember when they accused you of witchcraft. Maybe you've already helped her and she's all better, now, Evelyn said. I think her problems run a bit deeper. Wherever they come from. They're not something a one-time nap can solve, Deku said. Well, what do you think she needs, then, Evelyn asked. She pretty much said that she likes how I'm normal. She feels at ease being around me because I don't remind her of her problems like everything else, Deku said. You're her safety value. You help her release the pressure, Evelyn said. Pretty much, Deku said. I bet she must feel really stressed all the time, Evelyn said. Definitely, Deku said. Can you imagine the tension in those shoulders and her back? She's so tall too, Evelyn said. God, she must be as high-strung as a guitar string, Deku said. You should totally offer her a massage, Evelyn said. A massage? Last time I gave a girl a massage, you wanted to paint the room with her blood. I hate that chrome bimbo. I don't hate Blake, and I wouldn't mind if you dragged her in, Evelyn said. Can you please stop creeping on Blake, Deku asked. Doesn't count with my mind, Evelyn said. You're being pretty openly vocal about it. You, Deku said. Deku's scroll then rang. He was currently receiving a call from Blake. Oh my god, it's her, Deku said. Really now? Well, shouldn't you answer, Evelyn said. Hello, Deku said, answering the call. Hey, Ijuku, Blake said. Hey. How are you doing? You suddenly stopped replying, Deku said. Yeah, that was a weird place to stop. It's just, Blake said. Take your time, Deku said. I've taken enough. Deku, could we maybe meet up in private, Blake asked. Well, of course. Is something wrong, Deku asked. Not exactly. There's just something I want to talk to you about, Blake said. That still makes it sound like something's wrong, Deku said. Smart ace. Meet me this Saturday in my room, Blake said. Okay. Saturday, Deku said. Saturday. See you soon, Blake said. The call then ended. Wipe that smile off your face, Deku said. The ears are not for show, Evelyn said. Okay, you heard everything. Evelyn, her last relationship was a disaster. That's not what this is about. She just wants to talk, Deku said. Oh. Too bad, Evelyn said. You're really set on having her on board, aren't you, Deku said. Who wouldn't want her, Evelyn said. Evelyn, seriously, Deku said. Huff, fine. Aiju, other than being smokingly warmly deliciously hot, there's a couple things about Miss Belladonna that makes me interested. They're not things I can bring up, out of respect. Point is, I would definitely like to get to know her better, but you're pretty much my only opportunity to do that, Evelyn said. You're really horny for cat girls, aren't you, Deku said. Evelyn was shocked at what she just heard. I am, and you better satiate my rabbit instincts, Evelyn said. Evelyn the pushed Deku down and kissed him passionately as she began to strip and have her way with him. Thursday. Day 95. Titania was currently chilling in the gardens. Oh, intriguing development. And here I thought you were going to go around causing havoc, Peach said. Causing havoc, Titania questioned. Disturb the general peace, maybe crash my class. Stuff like that, Peach said. Nishishi. I can imagine the faces those guys would make, but, nah. I don't feel like it, Titania said. But you felt like taking a stroll through Beacon's Gardens, Peach said. Yeah. As I said, I like the place. Feels alive, you know, Titania said. As opposed to, Peach asked. Peak, for one. You don't know the half of it yet, but that place is worse than dead. Then, everything in the memories of my donor. He's been surrounded by death all his life. I can almost smell it. Seems like his best memories are all about food. Imagine that. Give me foot rubs and the smell of flowers any time of the day, thank you very much, Titania said. You're a wonder. A real wonder. I can't wait to unveil the mysteries behind your creation, Peach said. PFFFT, make me feel even more like a text subject, will you? Truth is, I don't exactly know that myself. I mean, I know the how and why, but I don't know what made the big guy get the idea of making me like this, you know, Titania said. It's clear this being wanted to make some kind of guardian. But you don't know the reason why he made you as you are, Peach asked. No, I only have a feeling. It's weird, but... It felt like he was trying to one-up someone, Titania said. Deku was walking through the dormitory halls when... Hey. It's Ijuku, right, Reese said. Huh. Oh yeah, it is. Hello Reese, Deku said. So, Reese said. What is it, Deku asked. I wanted to apologize for what I did to you with Arslan, Reese said. Arslan made you apologize, didn't she, Deku asked. How did you know, Reese asked. Well, it's been quite a while since that incident and it only now that you've come to apologize, Deku said. Ah. Well. I sorta. Maybe got stuck on how to apologize, you know. Like if I should invite you out somewhere or have you spank me, Reese said. Wait, what, Deku asked. She always hits me so hard, and Reese said. I don't need to know more. I'll take that day out, Deku said, flustered. Oh. Okay then. Just let me know when you're free, Reese said. Friday. Day 96. Young was currently standing in front of a mirror in her alternative outfit. I'll admit the outfit looks good, but you've been staring at yourself way too long. What's on your mind, Blake asked. Blake, Young said. Young, Blake said. I think I may be getting bullied, Young said. Excuse me. And by who, Blake asked. Ijuku, Young said. That's what, Blake asked. Well. First of all, there's the matter with Ruby. He was involved in that, Young said. I don't think helping her with studying qualifies as bullying you. Also, I'm getting an A thanks to those notes, Blake said. Traitor. Anyway, whenever I've agreed to help someone, he swoops in and helps them out before I can. Like Ren's smoothie, Sun's jungle gym project, and then Coco's, Young said. Alright, I get it. Ijuku has been stealing your thunder, Blake said. Sort of. I mean, maybe calling it bullying is too far, but... Why is he doing this, Young asked. Blake smirked. What's with the smirk, Young asked. Remember how you told me that, last time, he promised to give you the childhood you never had, Blake asked. Well, yeah, but... Wait a minute, you mean that he's doing this so that I don't have to do it? Are you kidding me, Young asked. You do have a tendency to overdo things, Blake said. Well, good thing your color scheme is black because you make for quite the pot, right now, Young said. Alright, it's less about overdoing and more about taking on too much stuff at the same time, Blake said. Oh, please. I've always done this. I'm fine, Young said. I guess he's not convinced. Or maybe he's just worried, Blake said. I knew I shouldn't have been that open with him, Young said. And yet you did. Why, Blake asked. I don't know. I felt like it. He's a good listener, Young said. I'm also a good listener, Blake said. I know, but it's different with him. You've got the whole sexy emotion Heidi ninja thing down to par, which is totally cool, while he wears his mood on his sleeve, Young said. I guess he does. Have you seen him blush? Blake asked. Have I? He gets all shades of red depending on the committed offense. It's the CU, Young said. Young then blushed. Stop it, Young said. Stop doing what? Blake asked. You know what? He's got a girlfriend, Young said. My dear Young, I just asked you a question. I didn't ask if you found him cute or something. That was you, Blake said. Shut up. I didn't say I find him cute, Young said. Do you? Blake asked. You little. I'm going to Junior's, Young said. Of course. Have fun. And you don't need to worry about Izuku stealing your thunder. I heard he's working this evening, Blake said. Where does he work? Young asked. I thought you didn't want to talk about Izuku anymore, Blake said. Shut, Young said. Young then left. You're so dead, Young Zai Long. Found a chink in your blonde armor, Blake said. Young was in Vale making her way to Junior's. Stupid homeworking cat. And why did I get so flustered, anyway? I'm not some silly schoolgirl and I may have never dated before, but I'm Young Zai Long, damn it. And sure, as hell ain't got a crush. Crushes are for Ruby. So what if I find him cute? Doesn't mean anything. Yes, that is what I should have told her. You know what? That's exactly what I'll do when I go back. Now let's get to business. One security dragon coming, Young thought. Young then saw the last thing she wanted to see tonight. Oh, you've got to be kidding me, Young said. Oh, look, the cow has finally arrived, Melanie said. Hey, Young. Did you come here to party with all the free time you have? Deku asked. How? Did you even? No. Are you stalking me? Tapping my scroll. Should I check for wires in my hair? Young shouted. What? Deku said. Don't you want me, mister? I don't need you to feel sorry for me, and even, that doesn't give you the right to interfere with my life, Young said. That's not what I wanted to do. I just wanted to, Deku said. What? Make me feel useless? Young asked. No, I just wanted to give you some time to have fun and relax. That's what I thought you came here for, Deku said. If that's so, why am I seeing you here? Young asked. Because I work here, Deku said. Okay. Upstairs, now, Young shouted. Hey, don't leave. You've got work to do, Melanie said. Young then took Deku upstairs. Now, tell me why you're stealing my thunder, Young said. Stealing your thunder? Deku asked. Doing everything I offered to help others with. How did you even know about my arrangements? Young said. I asked someone, Deku said. Ruby? Young said. No, Deku said. Yeah, sure. I'll admit, I don't have the exclusive on helping out people, but at least ask people to cancel, Young said. Wait, you mean they didn't? Deku asked. No, Young said. But why? Deku said. I don't know. Maybe they didn't have enough time. Still, couldn't you have told me beforehand? Or offered? Young asked. Young. I know who you are. You would have just said no, Deku said. Okay, that's true. But still, Izuku. Why? Young asked. Well, doing stuff for you seemed like the best to give you the free time you never had as a kid. And I don't think you would have like someone hanging around you all day doing stuff for you, Deku said. I got that, still. Listen, I understand what you wanted to do, but Young said. Young sighed. Alright, I'll level with you. I really wouldn't know what to do with all this spare time, Moran, Young said. Excuse me, Deku said. This is me we're talking about. Do you really think that if I wanted to take some more time for myself, I wouldn't? Young asked. Maybe. I've been told time and again to stop doing so much, but I just can't. I thought you had the same problem, Deku said. I see now. Well, I don't really have what you could call a hobby. I mean, I like dancing and parties and riding my motorcycle, but those aren't exactly things I can do whenever I feel like. No. I never really had time to experiment growing up. And now that I've got more freedom, I guess I just fall into the old housekeeping habit. See something in need of fixing or helping. Young to the rescue, Young said. So, instead of trying to free up your schedule, Deku said, you should try and offer me something else to do so I don't end up studying or training or helping people with chores. Hey Yanks, wanna go get some ice cream? Or something along those lines, Young said. I will keep that in mind, Deku said. You know it. So just offer me options, Young said. Well. So Young said. How? Deku said. I'm waiting, Young said. Waiting for what? Deku asked. Ah. You freed my evening. Offer me options, Young said. No, I didn't. Remember, I was working before you exploded and abducted me, Deku said. Oh yeah. I'm so stupid. I'm sorry, Young said. Young. Hold on, Deku said. Young and Deku then tumbled over each other. What? I'm sorry, so sorry, Young said. No, I grabbed your arm all of a sudden. It's my, Deku said. Young had landed on her back, with Deku over her, his hands stretched out, keeping to stop himself from falling onto Young. My fault, Deku said. Deku, Young said. Yeah, Deku said. I think you should get up, Young said. I agree, Deku said. All the way? Please, Young asked. Yes. I'm sorry, Deku said. Deku then stood up, allowing Young to stand up as well. So, that happened, Young said. Yup, Deku said. Want to go drink something? Young asked. I would like to, but I've got to get back to work, Deku said. Oh shit. Sorry about that, Young said. Just get me something. With a lot of ice, Deku said. Oh wow. I didn't know I had this effect on people, Young said. That's a goddamned lie and you know it, Deku said. Maybe, Young laughed. Deku then got back to work while Young got 2 drinks before joining him. So, not to shoot myself in the foot, but what exactly is the deal with your girlfriend? And I think Evelyn, Young asked. It's a long story, Deku said. We'll take a long drink, then Young said. Well, first off, you forgot about David. Young then spat out her drink. What? Young asked. Like I said. It's a long story, Deku said. Standing far away, looking over them, was a woman in red and black, wearing a grim-like mask. Sunday. Day 97. Deku was wondering what Blake wanted to talk to her about. His mind was flooded with weird thoughts that were planted by Evelyn. Though thankfully, she was still sleeping and couldn't put any more thoughts in his mind. Hit that Aiju, Evelyn said in her sleep. Deku then left for Team RWBY's room. You're really sure you don't want us to stick around? Young asked. Yes. This is something I have to do alone. I'm afraid I may end up reliant on emotional support, Blake said. Rely on us all you want. I don't mind, Ruby said. Ruby. I'm sure that intention is appreciated, but this is exactly what Blake wants to avoid, Weiss said. Indeed. There's still a lot of stuff I'm not ready to face on my own, as recent events have proven. Which is why I have to at least try and do something this simple alone. Baby steps, Blake said. I wouldn't call it a baby step, considering, Young said. Maybe not the subject matter. But most of the context makes it a safe bet. Safer than most, Blake said. I see, Young said. I don't, Ruby said. I think for once we can trust she's not going to come to any self-inflicted harm, Wise said. If you say so. But we'll be close by, Ruby said. Not too close, I hope, Blake said. Ruby, Wise and Young then left the room. Blake then turned off the lights. Showtime, Blake said. Deku had now arrived at Team RWBY's room. He knocked on the door but there was no answer. Blake. It's me, Deku said. There was still no answer. Deku then noticed that the door wasn't fully closed. Deku then entered the room. Hello. Blake, Deku said. Again, there was no answer. Blake, this is getting real unnerving. If this a prank, it's working, Deku said. Deku was then tackled. What in the, Deku yelled. Whoever attacked him slammed into him from behind. Long legs wrap around his arms and torso, locking them together while slender but strong arms grab into his head and neck. Deku quickly jumps and lets himself fall to the ground back first, making his attacker hit the floor hard and having him land on top of them. Blake said. Blake, Deku asked. The impact lessened their grip and allowed Deku to escape their grasp. The lights then came back on. Blake, what on earth has gotten into you, Deku asked. Blake then stood in front of Deku, showing a pair of cat ears on her head. You going to say anything? Why did you attack me, Deku asked. Have you not noticed, Blake asked. What, the cat ears, Deku asked. Yes, the cat ears. I'm a faunus, Blake said. I already know that, Deku said. Really? Who spilled the beans? John, I swear, Blake said. No one told me, Blake. I had my suspicions that you were a cat faunus. Evelyn just confirmed it, Deku said. You don't care at all, do you, Blake said. Blake, my girlfriend is a faunus, remember? Unless this is some kind of heat thing and factors into it, tight now I care more about why you attacked me, Deku said. There were 3 things I wanted to tell you today, Izuku. First, that I'm a faunus, Blake said. We established that. Then Deku asked. Remember? The first time we went out, Blake asked. Yes, Deku said. The past I wanted to leave behind and yet still manages to find me. Or maybe I am just tied to it for eternity. Izuku. I was a member of the White Fang, Blake said. The White what now, Deku asked. What, Blake said. I have never heard of the White Fang before. I understand it's supposed to be some big thing, but without having prior knowledge, it's the same as you telling me you were a junior detective or something, Deku said. A junior det, can't you read the mood even a little, Blake asked. Sorry. I've never heard of the White Fang in my entire life. I mean, I get that it's supposed to be something bad, maybe. But I can't for the life of me put you and bad in the same equation, Blake. Wait, is that what the sneak attack was all about, Deku asked. That's not the reaction I was expecting at all. But I think I prefer it, Blake said. I would have let you speak your piece anyway. So, what's the White Fang, Deku asked. The White Fang started as a liberation front for the faunus, so to speak. To denounce and fight the treatment faunus still receive from humans in many parts of the world, Blake said. That's a noble cause, but I guess there's more, Deku said. Yes. Like all ideology-based organizations, the White Fang has factions as well. One has more direct approaches to the problems of faunus, Blake said. I see, Deku said. I was a member of that faction, for a time. Until, Blake said. Until you felt they were going too far. Less helping faunus and more kill all humans, Deku said. Something like that, Blake said. And that's when you came to Beacon, Deku said. Yes, Blake said. And here I thought it was something serious, Deku said. You cheeky. You're seriously not going to ask me more questions about it, Blake asked. Considering your evident penchant for self-loathing, I'm sure you would have told me if you had actually gone slaughtered innocents in the name of your terrorist Faunus masters, Deku said. Oh my gods, how can you even joke about that? You're horrible, Blake said. Just trying to lighten the mood. And you're laughing anyways, Deku said. I'm just caught in your pace. Shut up, Blake said. Make me, Deku said. Very well. If you insist. I told you I wanted to talk about 3 things today, remember, Blake said. Yeah, Deku said. Yeah. You may remember when I mentioned my ex-boyfriend. How the breakup wasn't exactly clean, Blake said. The breakup time coincides with when you left the White Fang, doesn't it, Deku asked. Yes. Suffice to say, I'm in no way ready for a serious relationship of any kind. I need to get stronger as a person, to never end up so dependent on someone ever again, to the point of going blind to his faults, Blake said. Makes sense. I hope you can reach that point sooner rather than later, Deku said. Thanks. Anyway. You're not a serious person, are you, Blake asked. Only if you threaten or hurt my friends and the people I love, Deku said. Blake then gave Deku a look. Blake. I know what you're thinking, but Deku said. Blake then tackled Deku. My bed. Why on my bed, Ruby asked. Alright, that's enough. Let's vamoose, Young said. Ahem. Quite wise said. Blake currently had her head on Deku's lap as he ran his fingers through her hair. Are you comfortable, Deku asked. Very much. Exactly what I needed, Blake said. You could have just asked instead of just jumping me, you know, Deku said. Maybe, Blake said. It's serious, Deku said. Blake said. With Evelyn, Penny and David. It's kinda serious, Deku said. I didn't mean to imply, Blake said. I know. What I mean is, I doubt they are going to think badly of us for some cuddles, but you're going to have to befriend them. And ask for forgiveness, Deku said. Sounds fair. I'm sorry, Blake said. Good. Also, there's now a lot more cat pun in your future, Kitly, Deku said. Call this a petting session and you're dead, Blake said. End of chapter 30.